Letitia James increasingly looking like she's going to have some...
I will not fear Donald Trump. I have steel in my backbone. And the reality is I will not allow this person, Donald Trump, who unfortunately is a broken man, to get in the way of progress and to separate.
Well, Letitia, I actually think you are a broken woman who has nothing but vengeance on your mind and career on your mind. And Letitia James, let me just kind of make something really clear. It's extremely important right now to the country that someone like you get her legs cut out from under. The reason being, you are a threat to the system. You are a threat to the economy. You are a threat to the very foundation of capitalism that exists in the United States of America, because you somehow thought you could come along, lady, and you thought that you could decide that you knew the valuation on various properties, great real estate expert that you are. And in deciding these valuations, you would somehow be able to then go after Donald Trump because you didn't think it was worth as much as he and Deutsche Bank thought Mar-a-Lago was worth. I mean, you got to be kidding me. This woman is so far out over her skis. This is what's scary. This is what's scary. I'm going to let Trump say it. We're going to go back to Letitia, because this is what needs to get dealt with. This is not vengeance. This is not retribution. This is cleaning up the system for every single American so that they're not confronted with the likes of a rabid Letitia James in the future. Here's Trump talking on it this summer.
I'm going to take you to Lower Manhattan and former President Trump.
Are you a victim of extortion?
The country is on fire. There are protests all over the country. I've never seen anything like this. Many graduation ceremonies are being canceled. They're canceled, as you know, in Colombia. They're canceling a lot of them. And we have a president that just refuses to talk because he can't talk. You know that. So does everyone else. Some of the statements made about this witch hunt on CNN, fake news CNN, Michael Moore said the proof of falsifying records has not been accomplished. On Good Morning America, they said, we heard that expense payments to lawyers are legal expenses. You pay a lawyer expense payments. We didn't put it down as construction costs, the purchase of sheetrock, the electrical cost. The legal expense that we paid was put down as legal expense. There's nothing else you could say. You don't have to put down anything, I guess. But we put down legal expense was legal expense. Is that a correct statement, Mr. Attorney? And everyone's saying, oh, gee, that's the fraud. That's what they're trying to get us on. The fact that we call a legal expense a legal expense. They marked it down in the books.
And forgive me, I was referring to a different case when we first went to that sound, but nonetheless, really, really important to hear, because that's referring to the case that we're talking about right now in the here and now. Donald Trump saying this doesn't really make any sense. I didn't do anything illegal in terms of my funding and in terms of my campaign. I had a personal expense and then I had some legal expenses. And one would think that the Supreme Court, by the way, which has ruled on this already, would say, you know what, you're covered. You're covered in both cases. One, it was personal. Two, then when the campaign had to get involved, then you were going on to become president, et cetera. There's forgiveness there. And yet, this is a situation where, again, we're looking at today, they're just going to try and dangle this over his head. I don't think that's going to work. I think that you're going to see his team come back and appeal again, and this will eventually get tossed out altogether. It will be a major win. In the meantime, you're going to look at more and more problems for the likes of Letitia James. Letitia James, who's just so hell-bent on going after this president because she doesn't, frankly, have a career without it.
This is a state case. Last week, he perfected his appeal. And we are confident that in the state of New York, that we will recover over $450 million for the residents of the great state of New York. He's engaged in name calling. But unfortunately, the reality is that I will not dignify his comments. And two, I will not amplify his racism and or sexism. We've got to focus on issues. Americans are struggling right now. Inflation has gone down, again, under the leadership of President Biden. Right now, we are experiencing one of the lowest unemployment rates in
oh my God, she's like a spokesperson for Kamala and Biden.
history. And it's really critically important that the number of illegal border crossings has come to one of the lowest points again because of pathways that President Biden and Vice President Harris have.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but this lady, one of the funny things about her is that it just encapsulates, if you would, how bad their entire campaign and their entire argument was. Because on the one hand, they're, we need to focus on important things. Well, you're the team that's supposed to be in charge and focusing on those important things like inflation. Oh, inflation's coming down, she says, while simultaneously saying it's out of control. I mean, that is just classic. That is classic. So that's Letitia James this summer over on MSNBC trying to say, you know what, I'm strong. He's not going to be able to bring me down. No. I got like iron in my voice.
I will not fear Donald Trump. I have steel in my backbone. And the reality is I will not allow this person, Donald Trump, who unfortunately is a broken man, to get in the way of progress.
Yeah. Okay, so Letitia, honey, I think you're going to have some problems. I'm just saying, because you are so far out over your skis. I mean, it's one thing in the Alvin Bragg thing, which never should have been brought. That thing will eventually get thrown out. But here we are, still with Letitia James out there. We're waiting on that appeal. That appeal, I believe, very strongly, the Court of Appeals is going to say this case is DOA. I mean, you know, we've seen the judges. I've showed you this before, but you saw, the minute she approached the bench, they shut her down. They shut her down immediately because you know what? She has no case. There's no victim. There's no victim other than maybe society because, oh my gosh, Donald Trump is in charge. Letitia, the American people just picked Donald Trump, overwhelmingly. He won the popular vote. In 2016, he didn't. Now he did. So get over it, okay? She can't, you guys, because like Alvin Bragg and Judge Mershon in the first case with the hush money nonsense, this lady doesn't exist without Donald Trump.
So as you can see, we know their playbook. We know Project 2025 before it was even published. And we have been working both in my office and with other Democratic AGs across this country to make sure that we would be ready to respond to any attempt to roll back our rights.
Okay. Ready, willing, and able, right? Because she's all geared up for a fight. Except you're picking some weird fights. You're picking fights that don't have any legal ground on which to stand. And so, lady, it's over. He won. Judge Mershon, Alvin Bragg, it's over. He won. And this is exactly why you want someone like, the appointment caught me by surprise. And I don't know if Gates will eventually get it because, there's baggage there, et cetera. I got to be very forthcoming on that. We need a really strong lawyer, a really strong attack dog in there as AG. Gosh, Mike Davis is looking better and better. Did you see him on Benny's show? If you haven't, priceless. And if you've seen it, humor me because I could watch this thing all day long.
Let me just say this to Big Tish James, the New York Attorney General. I dare you to try to continue your lawfare against President Trump in his second term, because listen here, sweetheart, we're not messing around this time, and we will put your fat ass in prison for conspiracy against rights. And I promise you that. So think long and hard before you want to violate President Trump's constitutional rights or any other American's constitutional rights. It's not going to happen again.
It's not going to happen again. All right. He won. Americans overwhelmingly chose him.